All right, Coach William Polite coming back at you out here in Wichita, Kansas, also known as the Dub K. Still putting these videos out for those who might need some help, a refresher while we're dealing with this coronavirus pandemic and praying for everyone on a serious tip as we go through this time, this historic time in our the history of the world, not just our country. So sending up prayers. Well, we're doing here, guys. We Wichita Public Schools puts out math packets every week for our students here, different grade levels, and I've got a lot of calls from some of my students that I work with and some of our different programs, and just said, hey, well, I was trying to FaceTime and do all kind of stuff, and just said, hey, let's just put some videos out on YouTube. So you can find these all on YouTube as well. So feel free to do whatever you like to do with them, make comments, subscribe. You just go to William Polite on YouTube, and I've got a little station there. Today we're looking at, on this lesson, we're looking at transversal lines, okay? And transversal lines is a very important topic in geometry and algebra. You'll use this over and over and over again. You'll see these two lines here, M and L, which are parallel to each other, which means because of these two markers here, that means they're parallel, which means they'll never cross. And this line here, T, is called a transversal, okay? And a transversal is just a line that intersects two or more lines, okay? Now, and what happens, it forms some special types of relationships between angles once you have these parallel lines in a transversal, okay? And so here you see we're talking about alternate interior angles, okay? And it says angles 1 and 6, which is here's angle 1 here. Oh, let me see here. Okay, let me go back here. This is angle 1, and this is angle 6. See if I can get it around there. Didn't work good. There we go. Now, those are what you call alternate interior angles, which simply means, guys, right here, that they're on opposite sides of the transversal. That's the alternate part. And they're interior because they're inside of the two lines and not outside, okay? And then if you look at angles 2 and 5, those are alternate interior angles as well. Let me get a different color there and see if we can't do, those are alternate interior angles, 2 and 5, alternate interior angles, okay? And then if you think about it, since those are inside the lines, then if we go outside the lines, these are alternate exterior angles, okay? And so if I had angle 7 here, it's outside the line, along with angle 4 here. They're outside of the two parallel lines, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and then 3 and 8 as well. We've already talked about vertical angles, which are right across from each other when two lines intersect, okay? And when we use this term here, congruent angles, that means angles that have the same measurement. So alternate interior angles 5 and 2 have the same measurement. 1 and 6 have the same measurement. 7 and 4 have the same measurement. And 3 and 8 have the same measurement, okay? So pretty straightforward stuff there. Now let's go down here. And this first exercise, I just want you to look at, first of all, classifying different angles, okay? And so you see here, we have vertical angles that we just talked about. We can see like 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 5 and 7, 8 and 6. And then adjacent angles. We talked about that in a previous lesson, where angles that share a common border together, corresponding angles. They are ones that are, when a straight line intersects two lines forming 8 angles. So like 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. Okay, then same side interior angles. We're going to look at all these different things here. Same side exterior, alternate interior, alternate exterior. So we're going to look at all of these. So if we look at this diagram here, let's see if we can make that just a little bigger. Let's see if we can identify um, which 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 uh, which categories they fit into. Okay, let's see here. So angle 1 and angle 2. those would be, let's see if we can get, boy, kind of run out of space here. Let's see here. Okay, so let's see how these angles are related to each other. What type of relationship do they have? So we looked at angle 1 and angle 2. Okay, those would be considered adjacent angles because they share a border and they're right next to each other, and then they equal 180 degrees. So there we would just say adjacent. Okay. Let's see, how about angle 1 and angle 3 here? Those would be considered opposite angles when two lines intersect. So here we would have vertical angles, okay? Let's see, how about 1 and 6? They're on the, 1 is here, 6 is here. They're on the same side of the transversal, and they are outside or of the two lines. So that would be, take a good guess, same side exterior. See what we're doing there? So we're just looking at our definitions and looking at the relationships between the two angles they give us. Look at another one here, 3 and 7. Okay, what would those be? They're in the same position. Okay, and so they are would be considered. Let's see if I can get my writer here. Corresponding angles. Okay, see if you can figure out the rest of those, and answers are, I think, at the end of your package there. Okay, here's another little exercise, a little stretch your thinking, looking at streets. And we're thinking, remember what a transversal is. It intersects two lines there. Um, and so identify each street that has a transversal to Hoover and Wilson. Well, this would be Polk Way. Okay. If I can get it in there. Polk Way would be one. And how about Monroe? That would be Monroe Drive. That would be a transversal to Hoover and Wilson. See, that's Monroe there. That's Polkway here. Okay. And here's Hoover and Wilson. Those are the two lines we're looking at. Now, identify a street that is not a transversal. So, oh, I forgot about Roosevelt. Roosevelt's also a transversal. See, stretching your thinking there a little bit, stretching mine. And what's that? Roosevelt Avenue. So all three of those would be transversals because they cross Hoover and Wilson. Okay, little application here. Um, so let's look at one that is not a transversal to those two streets, and there's Taylor Avenue. See, it doesn't cross both lines, so it's not a transversal. Although it does intersect with Taylor Avenue, it's not a transversal. So Taylor Avenue is not a transversal. Okay, and then I'll let you guys answer the last few questions there. Okay. Um, and think about what we learned up front when we talk about same side exterior, when we talk about alternate interior angles. Let me see if we can get our line here. So remember the definition for same side exterior angles when you look at alternate interior angles, okay? Uh, corresponding angles, okay? And vertical angles. What would they be in relationship to angle 11? In relationship to angle 11 up here. And here's angle 11 here. Let's put a circle on angle 11 so you'll be able to see that as well. Okay. No, that's not what I want. I want my circle there. Still learning this technology here, guys. But that's angle 11. Okay. So a vertical angle would be right there. Corresponding angle would be 15. Okay. Exterior, let me see here. Same side exterior, 16. So see if you can find those yourself there. Okay. So that's a good lesson there, guys. Very good lesson using transversals. And then you've got some down here where they want you to use a diagram to answer the question here. Okay. And that's still going back up to our definitions about which ones are congruent. Um, and so you've got to do a little more studying there. So congruent would mean they have the same measure. So vertical angles have the same measure. And remember, alternate exterior angles and alternate interior angles also have the same measure. Remember what supplementary means, equals 180. Okay. Which ones would be supplementary to angle 6? Which ones would be congruent to angle 3? Okay. So there's some good questions there for you to think about. And I think the answers are down a little further. And then in the diagram here, and you're doing the same thing. You're classifying those angles there. Well, you're coming up with the measure of these angles here. Let's spend a little time here before we close this video out. Okay, we're going to wrap up with this exercise here, and I went ahead and marked a couple. They tell us that the measure of angle 4 is 106. Okay, we know that these are vertical angles, so angle 2 has to be 106. We know that these two form a linear pair. Okay, so they're supplementary. So that means together they equal angle 1 and angle 4 equals 180 together. So it has to be 74. And we know that these are vertical, or I can look at these as being supplementary. Let's see if you guys can come up with the angles for 5, 6, 7, and 8. A good exercise here for you. And this is stuff you'll use over and over again. So it says 8th grade, but I guarantee you'll use it in high school. You'll see stuff like this on the ACT. And it's just knowing the relationship between all of the angles. Alternate exterior, alternate interior angles, corresponding angles, vertical angles. Take time to master these topics. You will use them over and over and over again. I promise you. Okay. And then you've got another exercise down here as well. And we can use what we know about angles here to solve those problems as well. These are supplementary. So I know that x plus 100 must equal, and I'll put that in there, x plus x plus 100 must equal 180. Solve it. Okay? You can solve it. It's easy. And then we want to find out what these are. Once you find those, I can go from here and I can know that this is going to be equal to 34. I can subtract 180 minus 34 and I can get the measure of this angle here. And that would be what, 120, 136, 146. 146. 46, and I'm going to have, of course, that one's going to be the same as that one, right? 146. And then you think about the relationship between these angles, okay? All right. So it's good, very good lesson here. Very good lesson that you'll use over and over again. And I think that's going to wrap us up. You can stretch your thinking a little bit here. Maybe we'll come back and do that, but I don't want the video to get too long. Okay, guys, peace and blessings. Stay safe. Stay in the house if you can, and be good.